those pages. It's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends. So join the book club by DLC.
Hello, book clubbers! Welcome to your weekly check-in, your weekly opportunity to dance. I hope you're boogieing down in your seat as we get ready to talk about some more chapters from Memories of Ice, the third novel in the Malazan Book of the Fallen. I've been corrected. It's not plural, Lana. Malazan Book of the Fallen. It's only written on every I don't. What's the problem of having a Kindle? Is I don't see the cover of the book very often.
You know, it is the Malazan Book of the Fallen, but we are reading the books of the Book of the Fallen. It's like a book is a chapter.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of confusion around what to call these things.
I'm literally going to go back and re-edit all the titles of all the YouTube videos because I've been writing Books of the Fallen in all the titles erroneously. And Mr. Erikson was too kind to even correct me, but thankfully our listeners are eagle-eyed and recognize when I've been completely messing it up this whole time. Anyway.
Maybe Mr. Erikson's listening to this and going, it says Book of the Fallen on the cover of all of them?
That would be amazing. Well, we are in it. We're in the third novel, and we're going to do 3 chapters today, chapters 10, 11, and 12, wrapping up the second book of the second novel entitled Hearthstone.
Third novel.
Second book, third novel.
See,
Books of the Fallen. Book of the Fallen.
I don't take that much blame for this particular nuance.
No, you should not. I am the one to be blamed. Regardless, we always start the show with a non-spoiler topic if you're not caught up with where we are reading along, so that you can still hang out and have some fun talking about reading. And we've got some fun topics being sent in to us. You can always reach out to us at dlcfeedback@gmail.com. But the even more fun way to do it is to engage with the Discord. The DLC Discord is at 5x5 DLC on Discord. There's an entire book club section of the Discord, and we've got each of the Malazan Book that we've been reading. We've got them all broken out into their own channel. And so it's fun to hang out and post your stuff in front of everybody else and be part of the community. Urge you to do that. But this is a question that was sent to us at dlcfeedback@gmail.com from Scott. He says, my question would be, what magic system has been your favorite? Or alternatively, do you like a magic system explained or more abstract? I was going to write in to recommend Babel for having a cool, unique magic system before Jeff preempted me last week. I feel like the Malazan novels fall more into the abstract. The powers come from the Warrens, but the mechanism of the powers of each are not really spelled out. I think Scott is reading along with us, so I think maybe there's more to learn as we go on. Clearly, we've already learned a lot more about the Warrens, so I'm not sure how abstract they really are. Anyway, he says, contrast this with books like Sanderson's Mistborn or Rothfuss's Name of the Wind, where the magic system is described in detail. Another interesting magic system is from Brent Weeks's Lightbringer series, where different spectrums of visual light have different aspects or powers. Highly recommend that series. Thank you, Scott, for writing in. Lana, I will throw it to you. Do you have a favorite magic system, or even better, what kinds of information do you appreciate most about magic systems in fantasy novels?
I do love this question because having a great magic system is like a reason that I will really love a book. For all of the times I reference Brandon Sanderson, I will say this is one of the things that keeps bringing me back to his worlds. I think he does like such an incredible job of thinking of these unique magic systems for each of his novels that I love it. I love diving into understanding the thought that goes behind it, and it feels so cool to be in it and be like, I know how the magic works. If I were in the world, I'd basically be a magic user because I know how it works so well. So
Yeah.
I think I definitely lean towards like knowing more about a magic system than not. I think just like ambiguous magic. It works and it's the world you're born with it, and so that makes you able to use it.
Right.
I don't find as compelling because I feel like it's such a close hop to now magic could be the solution for everything. And if
Right.
not, then why wouldn't it be? Like every world I think breaks down pretty quickly if magic is just around. Uh Also called out in Scott's sort of initial posing of the question was one of the times that really struck me of being like, wow, this is magic, but it's explained as though it were science. And the simplicity of what the system is feels like it really strikes me is Patrick Rothfuss's The Name of the Wind magic. There are elements to it that I'm still waiting for book 3 to understand more about. And
As
then
are we all.
names are power, and like the moment where you're like literally like in school and he's like, you take the rock and you can move the rock, you bind it, and because they're so similar that's easier to move, and the
Yeah.
further apart they get, the harder it is to move things in the world. And I'm like, yeah, that's science, that's not magic anymore. That totally checks out. And
Well, what's
I
that?
like that grounding of the magical space.
What's that famous Arthur C. Clarke quote? Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yes, yeah.
So I like when it's sort of laid out that way too.
Yeah.
I was gonna obviously. I think Name of the Wind is one of those really killer, king killer magic systems. It is it is really, and the sympathy is like a division of magic, which
Mhm.
I just think is so beautiful. And yeah, I mean, when a magic system sticks out, like when I talked about Babel, and Scott brings up Babel as well, which is a magic system that's sort of about language and using language, and Name of the Wind is about using language as well. And there are these ephemeral things that we all bump up against in our lives that feel like magic.
Mhm.
I read a quote. I don't even know whose quote it was. I read it on a bag inside a bookstore that I thought was amazing. Maybe you've heard it or can attribute it for me. But it said, "I like books because they're the most portable form of magic."
Oh, I've never heard that before.
Really cool, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that's so evocative about great magic systems is that they feel like something we can access, right? Instead of
Mhm.
this abstraction that is sort of beyond us, that this feeling like, oh, when it's a physical thing, when it's something you can manipulate, when it's a an area of study or a discipline that we could actually, because it feels like there's stuff in life like that.
Mhm.
And I love that. However, I will say it is case by case, because there are times when just having it be an abstraction is enough. I will cite, not the first to point this out, I will cite Star Wars. The
Mm.
Force was enough, right?
Yes, yeah.
The Force, it's this magical thing that's around everything that binds us and connects us, and it
then the
flows through
science
us.
of it just sort of destroyed it. You're like,
Midichlorians ruined it.
Count, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's a great quote.
sometimes you don't need the deets, sometimes it can be just, it's a magical force that you if you work hard enough, you can access it. It's like
Mhm.
so it's case by case. I do think when someone comes up with a real clever idea as to how you can unlock this magical power thing. What Sanderson's thing is in Mistborn is like chewing stuff, right? Like you
It's
chew.
like all the different metals, you ingest them in like a little cocktail.
That's cool, man. That's neat. I like the physicality of that, the sort of visceral, just
Yeah.
chunky nature of stuff like that. So yeah, it gets your mind, your imagination going. But I don't
Mhm.
think a magic system always has to be. But you hit on, I think, the biggest problem, and this is, I bang on Harry Potter quite
I was
frequently.
about to say that. Oh my God.
I bang on that series quite frequently. I'm not a huge fan, but I know a lot of people hold it very dear to their hearts. But for me, it is not particularly well executed. But it is one of those things where it's like, oh, here's the distinction I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different, people use the term magic system to describe a whole lot of things. What I need are rules.
Mm-hmm.
Rules. That doesn't necessarily mean I need to know the origins of the system per se, but
limitations.
What?
You need limits and consistency.
Yes. Rules.
Yeah.
I have to know what is possible and what is not possible. And those things can expand over time, but it has to be contained. If all of a sudden in Harry Potter you can do time travel and nobody's been doing that, and now you can for one book and nobody does it ever again, that feels weird. It feels weird. If we've got time travel and we use it to let one girl go to 2 classes at one time, and we don't use it to stop the man who's murdering everybody.
Wait, you're suggesting something in and around or tangent to the Harry Potter franchise is unethical?
I think that rules, and in anything, and it doesn't even have to be magic system, but rules in, anything supernatural, the rules of how it works, time travel books or science fiction,
Mm-hmm.
or even like horror, horror movies. You need to know the rules of how the supernatural thing works. You don't need to know why. You don't need to know what it comes from. You don't need to know its origin story necessarily, but you got to know that Freddy Krueger can only attack you in your dreams. So don't fall asleep or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Rules are important, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Great question, Scott.
Great question, Scott.
Yes. Thank you for sending it in. If you'd like to throw out a question for our non-spoiler section, please do. Send it to us at dlcfeedback@gmail.com or post it in the Discord. We'd love it.
And I know that we're like asking for community recs in general for books, but if you have a book that has magic that you loved in it, that you think is unique or cool or well executed, I would love to hear about those.
Yeah. We can always follow up on questions, as we answer the questions. We'd love to hear your answers as well. And we could follow up on previous week's questions in subsequent episodes. So
yes.
Yeah. We want this show to be more of a conversation than it has been with you. So please interact. All right. Now it is time to get to the main event, which is chapters 10, 11, and 12 of Memories of Ice. So spoilers starting now for that. And Lana, one of the things I love right away, one of the things I absolutely adore and always pay attention to in any book is first sentences. First sentences of novels. I'm a big fan of what's the first sentence of this novel? First sentences of chapters. And I got to tell you, the first sentence of chapter 11 is one of my favorite first sentences of all time. It says simply,
thank you.
Spindle's hair shirt had caught fire. One of the greatest first sentences. I know we usually save our favorite sentences for the end of the show, and I have more, but that is a great way to start a chapter.
Especially like the buildup before where people are already like, it's like greasy and it's smelly already. I think I audibly groaned when I read that out loud. Like I read that sentence and like, ugh, nasty. That's nasty. I feel like I'm there. Yes.
So good.
Aligned.
It had caught fire. We don't know the circumstances. It's just this
it's a fire
awful,
now.
It's a hair fire on his body. Oh, it's so great.
And of course there's like, on behalf of the other bridge burners, I'm like, fully? Like it's gone? Like there's like a glimmer of hope that I'm looking for. And of course, does that mean that he's going to no longer wear it? No, now it reeks of like burning, stanky old hair that
it doesn't just stink because he hasn't washed it ever. It also is burned. It's so wonderful.
Hilarious.
Yes. And I in general, I'm so tickled by how the bridge burners are the elite of the elite, the badasses of the badasses.
Yeah.
And yet are also a bunch of goofballs that we take time to just see how this motley crew of wackadoos are, goofing on each other.
They're like the comedic relief that is like interwoven through like the seriousness. And after like the dense chapters of me like trying to trace, special lineage, I'm like, oh yeah, talk to me, Blend. I need this. I need to hear about Spindle's hair shirt.
It's so good. And also, speaking of Blend, I love how Blend just completely nails it. Like Whiskey Jack and Dewjack think they've just completely like fooled everybody with this whole outlaw thing, and she's like, "We're not outlaws. They're just tricking us to get an alliance with Caladan Brood."
Oh, you don't think we recognize the Empress's guy? We recognize the Empress's guy, okay?
Yeah.
And I love that, like, I forget his name, of course, but like when he shows up, we're like, ooh, who is he? Have we seen his name? Ooh, he's a mystery. And Blend's like, that's the guy. Like, it's like like the reveal of who this mystery badass is who's traveling with Dewjack. Or like, just Blend's on it. It's great. I love that as like a little.
I also can't remember his name. It starts with an A.
A.
Yeah.
It's like Anandas.
Yeah, something like that.
Atlandas.
Yeah. It is. I'm gonna find it because it's bothering me, and I don't want. Oh, Artanthanos. Artanthos.
That's exactly what I said. That's exactly what I said.
Artanthos. Anyway, it's just a great scene, and the bridge burners kind of like figuring it out and being fun with each other, and then we get a scene of Quick Ben, just having a rough time, traveling through Hood's Warren. The Warrens are thrashed, getting worse, poisoned in some way. This is the doings of, in some way, the doings of the Panian Domin, but also the crippled god is poisoning the Warrens, making it impossible for magic to be used. Speaking of magic systems, right? The magic here can't even be accessed because when you do, it messes you up.
All the Warren stuff, I don't want to jump ahead to like literally the end. I shan't, but all of the in and out of Warrens through all three of these chapters, I adored. So intense feeling. And despite like learning what we did about what the Warrens are, there's still something that happened in the third chapter that made me be like, oh, right. The Warrens are like that guy.
Yeah.
The sickness of the Warrens and me being like, all the magic's bad, huh? And not like remembering like the huge nugget of information that we learned about these things. I really enjoyed all the magic.
Me too.
It's cool. In these chapters.
It's cool to add the level of tension that we don't have our most precious weapon. We don't have sorcery. We're not able to access it. We can't heal people. It's, we'll get to that too.
Yeah.
Also interesting right here is that Quick Ben theorizes that the Panian Domin is itself a pawn being used by the crippled god. So I think that's interesting. This very powerful, very potent dark force, this very real threat is itself maybe just a feint, a pawn, by the crippled god. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Then, and then we move on to a really fun, rising tension, this preparation for the showdown where Trotz is going to have this one-on-one combat to become welcomed into the Barghast clans. And and we were in Perrin's POV. He's nervous about it. Everybody's nervous about it. All the bridge burners are nervous about it. Everybody's walking up to him like, hey, do we need to use bombs? We're going to need to use bombs. And he's like, ixnay on the bombs.
And they're like, maybe, but we don't respect you. So we'll think about it.
I know. That was wild. That was wild. Like, the guys have been talking and they're not going to listen to anything you say. And he's like, well, maybe I kill the messenger. And he's like, sure. You can kill the messenger. Last time a captain tried to do anything, I broke his neck. So
the fact that you suggested it is not helping on the whole respect thing, actually.
Yeah.
But just FYI, we don't like you.
Yeah.
Peace. I like these rising tensions because, I feel like it's kind of a trope of like, oh, you have the warriors from the other land entering the other tribes, and they're gonna do like hand-to-hand combat with somebody, like prove that they're worth it. But there's gonna be the moment where he doesn't actually kill him and he goes yield, or whatever.
Yeah,
They're like, oh,
yeah.
you spared him, oh, you're nice, or whatever. But in like the tensions of this, like all the Barghest tribes don't super get along. And so the whole time in the background, they're like watching other people just kill each other. I mean, I guess that guy won that duel. What's over here? Another duel? It's like, oh, no, they be killing. Like, this is not that trope. This is not the, I've spared you. This is, they're going to fight to the death.
Yeah. I through that whole buildup, I was like, how is this going to play out? Because I feel like it's not going to play out like we expect, exactly as you were just saying.
Mm-hmm.
And of course it didn't, because these are the Malazan Book of the Fallen. And
these are the book.
These are the book, as the Tasmaniacs would say. Some, lots of really, I think, interesting stuff about the Barghest and the, all the different tribes, and how, some of the tribes are contentious, and what's his name? Humbral Tor, who's the head, hasn't been able to align all the clans. And the way they're all dressed is so cool. There's like the turtle clan. I was like, Teenage Mutant Barghest Turtles. Pretty cool. I love also the fact that Humbral Tor and his gang literally wear money.
Yes. Them talking about like it's lined on the inside. I would love to see a rendering of the inside of their tents, like the coins stitched everywhere, hanging where like the fire is in the middle of the tent. All the coins have been blackened by the smoke of that fire, and they found so much money. And they're like, I guess this is clothing. Like just mountains and mountains of who is it? It's Perrin who's like noticing. He's like, they must have found an unbelievable amount of treasure. To have fully decked out in it, like just armor. It's what a cool
it's
thing.
like those
no use for, what is this, a $5 bill, you say?
It's like, I don't know, there's some comedy movie where there's a person who it's Zombieland, where what's his name, Woody Harrelson is like dabbing his forehead with $100 bills because it's the post-apocalypse and money means nothing. It reminds me of that. It's such a great detail of the fact that they have all these coins. They're valuable, so I guess we'll just wear them. Really funny. And so we're cutting back and forth between Perrin getting ready, kind of figuring out what's going to happen, trying to talk the troops down from blowing things up with all these grenades, and then Quick Ben, who's also trying to figure out, from Picker's perspective, Quick Ben is getting ready, trying to figure out what's going on with the crippled god poison, and all of a sudden,
and they're trying to get there as fast as possible.
Yes, because he's supposed to be the backup. He's supposed to be, if Trotz fails, Quick Ben's going to use all his power
magic,
to get them out of there. But whoop, we get pulled down, hands coming up, grabbing Quick Ben, yanking him under the ground.
Again.
Yes.
He's like, what? What are all these caverns?
They pull him into the Barghest Warren, where he finds all of the OG Barghest, and Talamandus is there again. And Talamandus is like, hey, I'd love to help.
He's a little stick trap entity.
Stick guy with an acorn head. He, Talamandus is like, I can't even get near them. I loved all of the stuff with the fact that they've sort of, it's like this it's like these young whippersnappers don't respect their elders kind of thing. It's like this generational divide in the Barghast of they don't have any memory of the older spirits, so we have no power over them.
Mm-hmm.
All they care about is these young newfangled spirits, you know.
Oh, these Gen Z, this
the
Gen Z
worst.
pop star spirits.
They're with their TikTok spirits.
Yeah, exactly. I like that, you know, it's like, again, we learned so many like little pieces that are like how the Warrens are affected and how they exist in the world. But like the fact that there could be like, oh, just like a political generational difference that would be like, well, now this Warren, like a huge potential for magic is just forgotten. But it still exists. It's like in its own bubble, like of space. It's very interesting. I really like the sort of the politics affecting the magic in this world.
Yeah, I mean, he literally, Telemandus literally says they prefer younger spirits who offer comfort rather than wisdom. It feels so generational, you know. It feels so like, ugh, all they do is sit around and look at their phones all day. They don't understand how hard we had it.
They didn't pull themselves up by their bootstraps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Quick Ben says we found the OG spirits. And they cut a deal that says, hey, if you make sure that Trots survives, does this already have to? This happens before the fight, right? Yeah.
Well, Quickman's pulled down before the fight, but then I think as he's down there, the fight happens, and they're like, it's going bad over there. We can all sense that something bad is happening.
Yeah.
Or maybe Quickman sort of like is saying this, and then the fight is simultaneously happening. And because he says that, they're like, oh, well, we got to go then because he is in trouble. And they immediately sort of cut through. And I don't know if we want to jump back to the fight before we.
Yeah, we do. I shouldn't have skipped over that. I kind of got carried away with Quick Ben stuff. But yeah, the fight itself was awesome. I mean, the tactics of it and the way that illustrated who Trots is now, and you know, Perrin saying, you know, or Humbrawl saying he's got no tribe, and Perrin saying, oh, he does have a tribe. It's the Bridge Burners, and that manifesting in how he even goes about fighting, how he's fighting like a soldier and waiting, and there's this lithe. I can just imagine that scene, you know, this kind of no armor, live, like hoppy, you know, just kind of jumping around.
Like the reveal that it's not going to be Tor that's the one doing the fighting. I don't know if they mentioned that and then I missed it right when they showed up, but I was like, oh yeah, Tor's this big guy who's like, yeah, we got a brawl, bro. And he's like, no, here's my kid. And then they describe it as that the kid is there and looks uneasy, looks like unbalanced on his feet. But his kid is such an experienced fighter that like he's doing the old pump fake on his actual ability and is like this springy assassin of a fighter. It's like very, very cool.
I really could see it.
And then it's over so fast. Like I like that it wasn't like this drawn out scene like many times in this book. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this over the course of this series. Like it's sort of like the scene happens and it's like, did what just happen as I think it happens? And then I'm through the reactions of everybody else, the meaning of what just occurred and what has to happen now and what does this mean? It's like inflates so quickly, which is how it would feel being like, oh, we're gonna watch this and there's gonna be a victor. Oh my god, it's a draw. Like very, very cool.
He gets his throat smashed and on his way down opens up his chest and all his guts spill out. It's just crazy. And then everybody just doesn't know what to do. All the Barghast are freaking out. Perrin's like, what do we do? You know, all the bridge burners are like, now with the bombs. He's like, no, still no. And the image of everybody, all the bridge burners running and sort of creating this circle around Trots's dying body while this threat is simmering, about to erupt all around them. And they're just like protecting the body and looking down and nobody can see what's happening to Trots. And he's like going to die. And then, is it Mallet? No, Mulch. Mulch runs up he's got this flick knife and just performs the what's the term?
Tracheotomy?
Yeah,
Like just puts like a stint in his throat, like one of those old commercials, so that he can breathe through his neck and so still get air to his lungs, but he still can't talk or really do anything. He's just trying to not die. Awesome.
Incredible. And so neat that it is because they can't access the healing Warren right now. So we got to rely on, purely physical medicine, it's just rad. And they're all like, what are you doing? I learned this in the army. It's just so cool.
I also love it because like that's something that I feel like any doctor reading this would be like, oh, you're not going to die if your throat's crushed. You just do a tracheotomy. Like, right. But the fact that magic is such a part of this world and like healing is a part of it, that's not something you would have to come across. So it would be like limited knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's awesome. I just really love the whole scene.
This whole sequence is just so tense and so exciting. And you have Perrin going, oh my God, what are we going to do? And Mallet comes up to him and he's like, hey, Mallet.
Yeah, Mallet arrives in time. So Mallet was with the sort of other like Quickben and folks.
Right.
And Perrin had sent one of the Moranth Twist to go pick him up as like a forethought, being like, Quickben would be clutch. We hope he gets here, but I think Mallet's actually going to be the guy we need here. So great foresight on his behalf. And so he just arrives and he's like, I need you to do this healing. Mallet's like, the Warrens are messed up, bro. And he's like, Trots, if Trots dies, we all are dead too. And Mallet immediately saying, this will kill me. And you know what? I understand. And just accepting that is the right thing to do. And that is his fate. And he goes and tries to peel open his warren to have the healing magic that he can put on Trots. But it is so poisoned and so awful. Immediately, all the skin on his arms splits. It's so like chest tighteningly brutal to read about. Like he's like ready to die for this thing, but he's still not going to succeed. Save for Quickben, who's in now the Barghast Warren and happening to be cutting a deal at this exact moment.
Yeah, the description of him losing his sanity, he has this physical, it's a very gruesome physical reaction that his skin is splitting open, his arms are flaying, but also the description of him losing his mind. Yeah. And just kind of, but sticking to it and just like managing to visualize keeping his hand on the throat and visualizing the healing in the throat as he's dissolving into insanity. It was just awesome. And then, the Barghast spirits grabbing him, pulling him down and being like, you got our power, bro. Get back in there.
Well, I didn't quite read it as the way that I read the sequence. It was like all of it just felt so tragic to read and so heroic, from Mallet's accepting that Trots' life is more important than his in that moment, to Quickben being like, this is so important. You want your Warren to like you want to be back in it to win it, elder spirits.
Yeah.
We have to save this guy's life. And then the leading Mallet from the brink of insanity and just mortal destruction back through like his own Warren by basically sort of splitting the walls of the chaos that has consumed it by laying down their own bodies, like hundreds and hundreds of the entities, the spiritual bodies of these Barghast who are in the Warren, sacrificing themselves as a path that he has to walk along to physically walk himself back to sanity, to use the power to throw the last of the healing into Trots on the ground. It was
incredible. Yeah,
amazing.
You're so right. The pathway that they lead for him, and my favorite part. And you have Perrin going, "Oh my God, I can't believe I just sent this man to die." And I, even more than that, can't believe that he did it without question. He just went, "Yep, I got to do it." Amazing. He's that like, level of heroism.
Who are these people?
Yeah,
who are these people?
But my favorite part of the whole thing, that whole sequence, is. Man, I like get chills just remembering.
I'm like sweating.
I know. Is Trots waking up and going, who paid?
Yeah.
Who paid? And Malik going, not me. And he looks at his arms, and sees them all shredded up. He goes, no, not me. It's like,
I'm like welling up.
Me too. I'm getting all emotional. He doesn't say. He says the very first thing out of his mouth. Who paid? Just an amazing sequence.
Yeah.
In a fantasy series that is just full of them.
Yeah. And then the other piece that is important about this Quick Ben encounter is, this is not the first time that I think he's talked with, the Barghest spirits, and they're like, this is the second time we've talked with Calamandus, the stick guy. And he's like, you got to know, here's like some of the history, and this is why the Barghest will trust you, because you know this bit of history, a little nugget for you. Scoot away. And now he's pulled down again. And they are the ones who now point out that something we already know from the previous chapters of seeing the ships revealed in Capistan in that sort of the mask chamber, is that they are actually divided from their eldest spirits. We already knew that. They're in Capistan, and he's like, we need to get there. We need to be reunited with them. We need the eldest of our spirits power. And so we know that they now have this bargaining chip, when in the meanwhile, Tor talking with Perrin, he's like, we don't care about Capistan. There's no reason that we should ever care about Capistan.
Right.
And so we can sort of see these threads that can be interwoven, and we can see the ways in which Perrin can pull the Barghest into this fight.
Yeah. And Quick Ben puts that together, and he's like, ooh, yeah, I got it. And when he comes back, he's like, y'all are gonna thank me. Y'all are gonna thank me.
What happened? Hey, I'm here to save the day, baby.
Yeah. I can't remember who it is. I think it's one of them is like, man, this guy's an egomaniac. He's like, no, seriously. I talked to the spirits. You guys are gonna love this. It's so great. I also love how Perrin, like after all of that, he just goes, okay, now I gotta go talk to Humbral Tor and sort this all out. And the other bridge burners are like, dude, that guy's a stone cold badass.
Yeah.
Like they come around to his leadership in that moment, because he's like, all right, now I got to go talk to the giant clans leader that wants to murder all of us.
Turn around and back to the tent. Gotcha.
Yeah. And he goes in and basically lays out the whole thing that Trotz has a tribe. It's the bridge burners. And he's like, he won, right? It's like, he didn't win. Well, he didn't lose. Yes, we don't know if he lost yet, because he still might die. Does that mean we're all gonna die? Probably. Okay, all right. Okay, got it.
Have your final evening of pleasures among our people, and we'll do murder in the morning.
Yes, I'll likely murder you in the morning. And I also love that that Tor is like, so a lot of the other clans are talking. Many of them think that you did necromancy on him, that he actually did die, and we actually did win, and then you just brought him back with necromancy. So that's not good. We're gonna have to really work on those rumors that are going around. Yeah, so cool. And you're right. Then we cut back to the goofballs. We're just like, are we gonna die in the morning? It's odds are good. Odds are good we're gonna die in the morning. Let's totally bang everybody around that we possibly can.
You know what to do.
Yeah.
Anybody and everybody.
Pretty great. And even Spindle is like, what do I do? And Baker's like, go meet somebody. Have a good night. Mother would be so upset. And then literally Mother smacks him from the great beyond. I think that's the implication.
I was like, is this gonna be like, I hope it just stays as like he has this like really close with your ma, huh? like uncomfortable energy, that she's actually like this Warren of the tiniest Warren that's just like Spindle's mom's Warren.
Yeah,
that can come and like she could reach out of it and just hit him when he's being a moron.
The Warren of shame.
This is my Warren guilt tripius.
Yeah. This is my I have to ask my mom, Warren. Pretty cool though. Okay, so then that's pretty much the end of this chapter. We're led to believe that the elder spirits have reunited with the Barghast, and that people are going to get the picture here, and that all the efforts on these various fronts are coming together to kind of unite the Barghast behind them, and maybe even help them defend Capistan from the Panian Domin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's chapter 11. We are chapter 12 begins with our boy Talk the Younger, who's made some questionable decisions, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't even recognize, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously,
I did too.
but like the voice that the chapter speaks in is so not like Talk the Younger's other chapters.
Yeah.
And it's talking about how he's like, it feels like he's experienced this transformation as he's trying just to survive in this Panian hellscape.
Yeah.
And having the voice of the chapter be such a dramatic turn from the previous times that we've hung out with Talk, more than anything was like, he's seen some shit.
Oh, I went back and reread a few pages because we started and it was like, it's another one-eyed person? There's a lot of people with only one eye. I really did. And then I went, oh, no, it's our guy with one eye. That's our guy with the one eye. Yeah. And it was very, I was shook because he is in it. We flash forward a bit and he is in the Teniscowry. Mm-hmm. He is seeing unfathomable horrors as the Domin are raping and pillaging and cannibaling everything and
consuming. They talk about it as like the theme of like hunger and consuming in every way, from the women, or specifically like the first woman who went out and collected the death seed, like consuming these people. It's like taking everything from them. Really
the way he talks about, the one he's scared about most is Anaster's mom, the first lady who did it, because she's just bad shit.
Why? The first person, like I thought, like in my life, I'm like, who's the first person who made sourdough bread and was like, this kind of little pile of muck, we should eat it. But like,
you're right. This is the sourdough bread of raping dead people.
But yes. It's just like, who was the first person who did this? It's like the first person to be like, I bet I could get pregnant off that corpse just before it's a corpse.
Yeah.
That's that's a level of crazy.
That's an understatement. Very disturbing. And talk, like thinking through it and him sort of losing touch with his own humanity and being like, I'm so hungry, I've been refusing to eat people.
Yeah.
But I might eat people.
The description of like I just love that he showed up and they're like, who the heck are you? And he's like, is like choosing to be mute.
Yeah.
But they're like, I feel like it's like, guys I knew in junior high who thought they were being mysterious because they wouldn't talk. And it's just like, what? But in this case, they really are like, ooh, he's so mysterious. He must have been
Give him a horse. Give him a horse.
Get that guy up here. I love that guy. And he's like, they're like, but him being like part of like this favored crew, their pots are always full, but he is starving because he refuses to eat, they called it like the blessed flesh or something like that. And that's just that sense of hunger, both of like how much the Panian is devouring, and it's like such a constant thing with them, and his own hunger, and he's eating his own body layer by layer from the inside out because he refuses to eat it, and he's completely losing himself as a result. It's just
no regrets, Lana. No regrets. You
Yeah,
know,
but
had
Lady
I
Envy. That would have been.
had I chance to do it again, same choice. I'd be right here, not eating people. I don't know. I mean, like, I get it because he's like, I would have died. I would have been, there's no, but you had people that wanted to protect you that are super awesome and don't need you to eat any people.
Let me say this. And like, given the choice, like, would you rather starve to death and witness the worst horrors that you can have possibly imagined beyond your fathoming, actually, and just completely lose sight of yourself? Or maybe get charmed from a smooch and then maybe die that way. Either way, you're dead.
Yeah. Either way you die. One of them is sort of quick and you're obliterated as like the hottest girl ever tries to protect you. And the other is a bunch of raving cannibals give you an almost dead horse and make you...
And you have to not speak for who knows how long.
It's a hard decision for me. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know, Talk. I don't know if I can get behind your life choices, Talk.
Look, I just know that there are people who are listening to us who know so much more about Lady Envy that they get why Talk would make that choice. But given what I know now, I'm on Team Envy.
Yeah. But, here we are with Talk. And he gets called into the principal's office. Brought in before the Panian seer, has to climb up a whole bunch of stairs that really take it out of him.
Because he's like starving, and then he stops on the landing and looks over, and it's like, oh, what's in here? Is it a bedroom? Oh no, the skin walls? I guess I'll keep climbing.
Not there yet. 3rd floor, skin walls, ladies' lingerie. Gotta keep, that's the wrong floor. I thought the reveal of what the seer was pretty rad. This corpse that has something else in it, and Talk is really the only one that has seen through this facade, this illusion, but it's literally like animating this corpse, but inside it is something altogether creepier.
I loved it as again like a little touchback thematically to I forget now, of course, who said it, but believing that the Panian Domen is just like a front for like a bigger, like even like this thing that is a very real, very massive mortal threat to the continent, nay the world, is just a facade for something deeper. They are like puppets on strings as much as anything. And then you get all the way up to the Panian seer, and he's literally like a puppet. It's a corpse that's just has something else fully inside of it. I loved that little like sort of double hit on that
metaphor
being the front.
Yeah, totally. Agreed. The seer says, so I know you got friends. He's like, I don't have any friends. What are you talking about? I don't have friends. He's like, all those like awesome ninja dudes and that lady who keeps torturing all my people. Like you hung out with them. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like,
yeah, you don't have the eye of that wolf in your own face.
I don't. What are you talking about? He's like, okay, fine. You want to eat people? No. What if I like laid out some sweet looking people meat? You want some people meat right up here? And Talk can't help himself. He's like, slow down, chew your food, chew it, savor it. And then the reveal, like, I got you. It was just venison. Got you. You thought you were eating people. Classic Panian seer prank.
Idiots. Actually, this whole thing started because I made a joke about it. Now we're out of control.
The Panian Domen, famous for our pranks. But I did think that was cool that he's just still preserved that little speck of humanity by he was on the edge where he actually would do it, but the seer does not destroy him in that way.
In
And
way.
In that way, yeah. And we get, he gets these visions of what the seer is, that he actually is Jagged, right?
Yeah.
Using Amtus Falak.
Yeah, and something darker, a Jagged,
Yeah, right.
paired with, which, with, I can't help, anytime I hear Jagged, even though there's been like such sparse moments where we see it, thinking back to the way the potential power of a tyrant from Jagged being described, and like how massive that felt, now being possibly tied in with another even more powerful crippled god chaos magic is like, ooh, that's some spooky stuff.
Spooky stuff. It gets spookier because the seer says, you're using your doggy eye. You can't use your doggy eye. I'm gonna punish you. He gives him healing magic and then breaks all the bones in his body, which heal so they can break him again over and over and over again. Brutal.
Yeah.
Just squeezing him in excruciating agony, his body mending just so it can be rebroken. Rough. But again, better than hanging out with that stone cold fox who wants to protect you.
Way better. Way less dangerous.
Yeah. All right. Chapter 13. We return to the Maybe, who we haven't checked in on in a while. She's not in a good place. She has fully abandoned her daughter, who is now a lady grown, is all grows up and very Tattersail-like in her walk. I like tell by the way she used her walk. She's a Tattersail. No, the top.
I also like that she was like, and she didn't even grow up to be like a lanky girl. She's like a robust woman feeding off me. So it'd make it better if she were like a lithe, skinny thing.
She's like, she really took a lot off of me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And everybody's worried about her, Whiskey Jack and Dujek. They're worried about Silver Fox, who because her mother has abandoned her, is kind of, getting a little upset, justifiably. And we have an interesting scene with Whiskey Jack, Dujak, Corlat, and Krupp, who's there. Love a little Krupp.
Love a Krupp.
Really fun too, because the Krupp is like insulted, and so he's like, "I will insult you guys too, you stupid soldiers." That was fun. And then Whiskey Jack goes back to the back of the giant train of marching people. Sees a couple of unnamed sisters who I love immediately.
Yeah,
such great characters who are just like, we're gonna die for Silver Fox because we know she's Tattersail. She's our girl from back in the before times, and also we'll do whatever it takes. We'll stab, we'll bite. We don't care. We're hardcore. And he's like, "How many brothers did you have?" And they're like, 7.
They all sucked, and they're gone. So is our dad, and you know what? He sucked too.
Yeah.
I love that. He's like, "Who are you? What are you doing?" And they're like, "We're killers, bro."
Yeah.
And they just like talk about how quickly they can shoot quarrels off a crossbow, and then when the quarrels are gone, then we do swords, and when the swords are gone, we'll do sticks. When the sticks, you get it. Yeah. Like immediately, it's like,
bite them if we have to. We don't care.
I know what you're asking. You're not like, "Who are you? What's up, girl?" You're like, "What are your qualifications? Why did you choose to be back here?"
Yeah.
Report kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love that interaction.
Yeah. And they're like, and he's like, "Oh, check this out. Here's a scar from when my sister bit me when I was 6.
Yeah. And then it's like one of those. He's like, oh, what happened to her? Is she like a badass too? And he's like, nah, she went off and married some king. And I'm like, we gonna meet her at some point.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, so I don't know whatever happened to her. She said she was going to marry a king. Anyway, yada, yada, yada. Sounds unimportant. Bye.
Yeah.
It's like, no. That seems like a pretty interesting detail.
I'm ready for it to be like, and that was Fellison's mom. Or like something
right.
ridiculous. Yeah.
And then he goes and talks to Silver Fox herself, who's like, you know what, you and me, we're totally the same. He's like, well, I'm not so sure we are. He's like, well, yeah, you're right. I influence hundreds of thousands of people, and you influence like those people.
Yeah.
But I still think interesting to see a window into Silver Fox's mind. You know, she is Terrasail, but there's like a hard edge there. It still feels, it's very interesting. I don't think we fully understand who she is becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also love that she like witnessed Whiskey Jack talk to those sisters, and he comes up and he's like, you know, checking in, what's up with you? And she's like, those two will die for you now. They're like yours forever. And he's like, oh, I didn't intentionally do that.
Yeah.
She's like, that's exactly what makes you dangerous. That's exactly like you and I, we can just put our hands out and people will throw their lives into them.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, just beautiful.
Super cool.
And like the pressure of that and knowing that and having the awareness of that versus somebody who might live that existence and would be careless with those lives that would throw themselves. But because they know it, they feel it, but that means their lives are harder as a result.
It's that those who would least seek power most deserve it. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
I like also, she's like, oh yeah, and one other thing, slang, slack, river of blood.
Oh my
chariots, wagons, blood, gore, burning horses. It's just like, it was
so extreme. And that was the moment when they're talking about, they said something. Oh no, there's like maybe it's the last chapter, but there was somebody brings up Cruel again. I'm like, oh yeah, Cruel's like the Warrens.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, the Warrens are his body and there's a bunch of blood. That means that it's Cruel. He's dying. And something, I don't know why it took me literally like, it's a vein. That's the blood. For me to be like, oh, right. Like we knew that he was dying or sick or whatever, but like I feel like I never accurately put those pieces together. We even talked about it like, well, if Burn's dying, but Cruel's dying, does one mean the magic? Like we had all these conversations, but like the reality of what that looks like for you, like the ants in the world of Elder Gods is like, oh, gnarly.
Gnarly is the word.
Yes.
Gnarly is the word. And also in that moment I was like, God damn it. Erikson's going to make me love the Trigal Trade Guild, isn't he? Because we complained a lot when they were first introduced in Deadhouse Gates, but now they show up. I'm like, this is incredible. This is incredible. Just like blasting out of nowhere, the completely, almost a suicide mission of the first wagon out, like the horses are screaming and on fire and there's corpses falling off, and the second one like has some magical protections, and then they keep coming out, and then there's this giant one. It's just this like Keystone Cops, dominoes falling out of something, and there's this massive river of blood, and they're all standing there and the blood is up to their ankles, and it's like, delivery's here.
Yeah, and they're like, delivery's here, and then a couple of them walk up and be like, look, it's like the arm of a demon, and like, put that away, but it's too close to the wagon. It's like a fucking, like a snap bracelet, like just slash, like, oh, great. Well, now that's on there forever. Duh. Like, great. It's great.
Now we have demon arm on the way. He's like, yeah, it's going to be a bumpy ride for a while.
Like, how do we get it off? Well, I guess when the knuckles wear through.
I know. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna love the Trigal Trade Guild, aren't I?
I know.
It's so
fine. I will enjoy the books.
Fine. I will love every aspect of it. Incredible. And Whiskey Jack's like, I need a full debrief of this, but like later. Later.
Yeah.
The other thing I loved about that moment is the demon arm was from a demon. They're like, oh man, demons tried to attack you? And he's like, no. Or she's like, no. They needed a ride because they didn't want to get out of the Warrens. And we would have given it to you, but we were like all full up, you know? Like we would have helped those demons out. No problem.
That's how dark it is in there. We're like, demons, get out.
Demons are like, the neighborhood has really gone downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
No,
and they're like, we would have totally helped those demons. Yeah.
But the weight limit, it just
they
exceeded our capacity.
Yeah, can't get a permit. I think it's like they didn't sign the release.
Oh yeah.
The demons didn't sign the release. Amazing. Okay, and then we have a scene with Calor, who's hanging out, being all disgruntled.
He's sinister? What? He's gonna be bad? What?
That guy who murdered all those
the guy who killed
millions of people?
So many people is now ready to do it again after being punished for his whole life since then and for the rest of eternity? What?
He's sitting on his throne like
smelling candles to get that life back.
These life candles, they're delightful. Pumpkin spice.
What was that, nutmeg?
Just for the season.
That's like an extra 5 years.
What is that? Is that vanilla? And then all of a sudden, Vonk, Gethal,
brother of Gothos.
Yes, which I totally didn't put that together until now. I think that was spelled out for us way earlier than I put it together. But that's the dude who's in the dead house as trapped as the house. What do they call it? The keeper of the house?
Yeah, the protector.
Mr. Belvedere of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So totally didn't catch that they are brothers, but that's awesome. Until now. But Gethal is like, hey, chain god, putting a group together. Had you in mind from the start. You, Calor, hanging out with us.
I would have loved if he showed up and was like, hello, you should want to hear my tale. And got shut down again. I so wish.
It deserves to be an epic poem. No, I don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear my... Yeah. That would have been amazing. But he's like, so Cripple God, it's got this sick new deck.
House.
Yeah, house in the deck. House of Chains. Everybody loves House of Chains. We want you to be the high king of House of Chains. And he's like, that sounds lame. I'd still have to serve the Cripple God. No.
He doesn't do that.
That's not how he rolls. Cripple God is cool. He's like the best boss ever. He's like one of your buds. He's like the cool teacher who like hangs out after school. Don't worry about it. He'll give you complete freedom. No questions asked. You get to do whatever you want with House of Chains. And he's, I don't know. Think about it. But they come to an agreement because he's like, I want a moment of vulnerability for Silver Fox. And Gethal's like, okay, tell us where Moonspawn is.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like he still might become part of the House of Chains.
Yeah.
But in the short term, they're already conspiring.
Yes. Gethos, what's his name? Gethal. Gethal goes to leave and he's like, hey, wait. Does this throne make my butt look big?
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just a little teaser. See you later.
We can still use my throne if I'm the king of the House of Chains, right? It's still my
it's like cool my throne. Like it's your house, but it's like kind of my house.
And Gethal looks at it and is like, that's a busted up throne, man. That's a busted ass throne.
It looks kind of old and busted, but I think it matches you nicely.
Yeah. So Interesting that Calor was, hanging out with Caladan Brood and kind of welcomed into the, welcome. It was trusted to a certain extent, but he's still not a nice man.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like my guess is that he is going to become part of House of Chains. And I think it's cool how, we're getting this sort of Ocean's 11, getting the team together of evil. We're the Sinister Six is coming together. We're getting Gethal's like visiting all the baddest of the bads and being like, we're making a super team, super group. Me on vocals, you on the 5s and 10s. Come on, let's do this. Exciting. I think it's interesting. Any final thoughts for chapter 13? This is the end of book 2, Hearthstone, and we're going to enter the next book, which tantalizingly is called Capustan, which I think we're going to finally see the battle that's going to go down.
Yes. Probably my only thought is sort of going back to like our spoiler-free topic of, magic and rules. Calor, it's like this is a moment that is so satisfying where Calor is like this nasty guy and everybody's like, yeah, that dude nasty. But seeing like pretty quickly the thing that motivates him the most is being like, Silver Fox is an abomination. She got to die. And like even being confronted with somebody who I think he knows, like at the heart of the House of Chains is the guy that he was sent to kill in the first place. Like he knows that is what's on the other end of that chain, but still, his rule is he wants Silver Fox dead. And the fact that he would do that at any cost, I find just really compelling and very satisfying.
Well, I think it's because he senses that one of the souls in Silver Fox is Night Chill, which is one of the 3, all that stuff from the prologue where they conspired to take him down. He still harbors that resentment. And I think he wants revenge for that more than anything else.
Yeah, he even calls out like, we've seen 2 out of 3 fall, baby. You're next. It's got to happen. I'm not putting those curses out in the world for nothing.
Right. Super cool stuff. I thought these chapters were really fun and thrilling. I mean, the Trots fight alone was just so exciting and so fun to read. And as stuff is building, I just feel like we're about to crescendo a bit in the next chapter. I think that we're going to see this massive battle, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about the next section of the book. So I don't know if we're going to do 2 or 3 chapters next. We'll be told. Hang out, come to our Discord. That's where we find out what to read. You should be there too. Do you have some favorite sentences, a favorite sentence or 2 from the sections we read?
I do. I pulled 2 for this week.
Okay.
My first one is, the description of the energy in the Bargas camp just before Trots's fight. A voice wailed to greet the dawn, and suddenly the camps were alive with silent rising figures. The muted clank of weapons and armor followed amidst the barking of dogs and nasal bellowing of geese. As if the challenge clearing drew an invisible breath, warriors began converging towards it.
It's awesome. Such a cool
visual.
Cool visual, yeah. I have one. This is when this is Talk the Younger musing on how bad everything is. And he says, the metaphor made real. I can see my old cynical teachers nodding at that. Here, among the Teniscowry, there is no obfuscating the brutal truth. Our rulers devour us. They always have. How could I ever have believed otherwise? I was a soldier once. I was the violent assertion of someone else's will.
That was my other sentence.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So good, right?
Oh, so good. So good. I'm glad you read it. You've a much better voice.
I don't know about that, but I appreciate you saying that. I have one other thing. This is when I just love. This is when Perrin is talking about the as he often does, his constant refrain is the burdens of leadership.
Yes.
He says, "Gods forgive me, I ordered that healer to kill himself. If this is the true face of command, then it is a skull's grin. I want none of it. No more, Perrin. You cannot steel yourself to this life, to these choices. Who are you to balance lives, to gauge worth, to measure flesh by the pound? No, this is a nightmare. I'm done with it." Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Poetry, man. Poetry.
Ah.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. All right. We have one more thing to do to wrap up the show. And last week, if you recall, folks, we put the call out. We usually end each episode with some book recommendations of our own. We thought it was fun to start asking you for recommendations for stuff that you could recommend to us. And so you have responded. We got a bunch of wonderful recommendations. We will work through them as we go over the next several episodes, but please keep them coming. As always, you can email them to us, dlcfeedback@gmail.com. You can also post them in the Discord or on the Patreon. The audio version of this show is exclusive to Patreon members who support DLC, our video game show. But this, I thought, was a pretty good one. It comes from Steve from New Zealand. I was going to say g'day, but that's not right. That's Australian. I better just shut up. Anyway, Steve says, I bid you good Lord of the Rings. No? From New Zealand? No? I bid you...
See, he wrote all that?
No, he did not. He actually isn't a moron like I am.
Hello.
Okay, Steve says, "Thanks so much for your incredible work on the book club. I am loving my first read of these amazing novels, and the read-along analysis is so much fun every week." Parentheses, except for the terrible New Zealand parts that you just did. Anyway, now he said, "You've asked for a book recommendation, and I want to present one of my favorite books. I know subscribers to the book club will be blown away by it. There Is No Anti-Memetics Division by QNTM," which I think is Quantum, QNTM. "There Is No Anti-Memetics Division by QNTM is a fascinating read taken from source material that helped inspire Control, the video game. What if there was an otherworldly entity, an almost Lovecraftian being, and anyone who learns of the existence of this entity is not merely killed, they are consumed and erased from ever having existed? How can you defeat a being when you must not learn that it exists? It is a brisk and crazy ride that is not like anything else I've ever read and will stick in my brain forever. It's a very short read and would fit into most reading schedules in between chapters of Malazan. I would love to hear what people think. Keep up the amazing work, Steve."
Awesome. Thanks,
did
Steve.
you play Control?
Heck yeah.
That's a fantastic game with some
Great game.
really cool lore.
Mhm.
So I had no idea that.
There was source material outside of whatever they invented.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds
Fantastic.
cool.
I'm
But what
excited
a
about it.
tantalizing idea that you have to fight something that you can't even know about because the knowing means you're defeated.
It
Pretty wild.
not to be clearly a child at heart and mind, but it's it's almost like that game which you just lost if you're listening to me talk. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about at all?
No.
There's people in the comments will know is the game
I'm
is
curious.
if you thought about the game, you've lost the game.
Oh, I feel like it's this thing, like
Yes.
and then I can punch you twice.
Let me tell you,
Little major look.
that is my youth. That's the heart of my youth. Finding ways to punch each other.
Finding ways to punch each other. The Lana Bashinsky story. Another book forthcoming. We'll talk about that when it's released. Thank you so much, Steve, for sending that in. Please, we'd love to see more of these great recommendations, things we aren't aware of, and so we can all learn about together. That does it for this episode of the Book Club. We'll be back next week with more
Some
chapters.
amount of chapters.
A to be determined number of chapters that we will be informed of in due time. Thanks for listening. We got to dance it out one last time before we go.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the Book Club by